make a living and doing the best I can. And when it's time for leaving, I hope you understand that I was born a rambling man. My father was a gambler down in Georgia, and ended up on the wrong end of a gun. And I was born in the backseat of a Greyhound bus, rolling down Highway 41.
A brother said to Anthony, "Pray for me." He answered, "Neither I nor God will have mercy on you unless you do something about it yourself and ask God's help."
This quote from the sayings of the Desert Fathers, is a good one. It's a fine, thin line that we have to walk. Where someone comes to Abba Anthony and asks him to pray for him, and he said, "God will not have mercy, nor will I, unless you ask God for help and do something." And so the fine line is G.K. Chesterton, one of my more favorite authors and the king of Christian one-liners, talked about orthodoxy, or correct or right belief, as being like a out of control truck going down a road, somehow managing to stay out of the ditch on the left and the ditch out of the right. And so I think that's a good place to start. Here, there are two extremes. And one extreme is expecting God to do absolutely everything and us do nothing. Right? And then the other extreme is expecting God to do nothing and us to do everything. So that doesn't work either. And so Abba Anthony was obviously the person asking that was either in one or the other ditch. And so I want us to think about that and think about that, because I don't know, I missed the day in seminary where some things were explained, like why some things are extremely easy, and sometimes it seems like we get out of a mess by the skin of our teeth, but everything falls into place and works perfectly. So there's that, and then other things are the most monumental, difficult, life-draining, energy-zapping things that we have to walk through, the hardest things we ever have to do. I don't know why the world works that way. Sometimes the connectedness of God's creation is wonderful, and we have near misses and somehow go through things unscathed. And then other times it seems impossible. But yet, that's the way the world works, right? So we need to think about that. And think about the words of Abba Anthony. You have to give your best effort. And so you can't expect, just sort of sit idly by and expect God to do everything. And then get upset when God doesn't answer your prayer if you're just sitting in a chair somewhere waiting for things to happen. But on the other hand, you cannot, and I can tell you this because I've been hit over the head so many times with this, you cannot go through life doing everything on your own and not asking the help of God or the grace of God. It's, like I said, it's kind of like that ditch on either side, and you have to somehow stay in between them, both by your effort and your work, and then also asking for and depending on God's grace. So it's a fine balance, and sometimes it's easy and scoot through it. Sometimes it's an overwhelming struggle that you don't know how you're going to make it. And so, I wish I could tell you to do this, do that, and you can always make it through easy, but it doesn't work that way. But what I do know is you have to avoid the extremes where we don't depend on or ask for or beg the mercy of God and the protection of God and the grace of God to get through things. Also know you're generally not going to make it too if you just sit in a chair and ask God, get me through this, God, and we just sit idly by. There's a participation in the grace of God that has to be done. So the two, you're going to end up in a ditch again if you depend on God entirely for your help. If you depend on God entirely to take care of difficulties or things in your life, you're also going to end up in a ditch if you don't depend on God at all and think that you can do it without any help from God. So it might seem like a simple reflection, but man, it gets people in trouble a lot. It gets people in trouble a lot. I prayed to God, He didn't answer. It's like, well, what did you do? Well, I prayed to God. No, you got to give effort. Or, people come and see me that are really upset, and I was like, well, have you asked God to help you? Well, it's, okay. So always think about that, and embrace that it takes us working with the grace of God to get through life. So you got to give effort, and God will give the effort as well. God will dispense upon you grace and mercy. So it's a small thought for Friday, but a thought nonetheless. So everybody have a good day. Stay safe, love one another, pray for one another, ask God's grace, and get busy. So God bless you all. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.